favorites. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Look at me. I was on the little box for a second. Hey, welcome to episode 18 of the Great Race Plays. I am your substitute host for tonight, Pete Visco. We'll talk about it in a second, but our normal host, Howard Kravitz, is either on his way. I don't remember if he's on the flight now, but he's heading to Kentucky for the Kentucky Derby. So you were stuck with just me and my co-host, who will be joining us in a minute. Tonight, we're going to cover, as usual on this show, the late pick 4 on Sunday at Santa Anita. I mean, there's not a lot of other stuff happening this weekend in the racing world, so this is really the sequence you're going to want to focus on. Before we get to that, though, let me do a little bit of the administrative stuff. As you can see on the bottom, our YouTube channel. Subscribe, comment, rate, review, hit the notification bell, hit that like button. Make sure YouTube algorithm knows you like this show. And again, this was the last 2 weeks showed. We had shows on at all different days, all different times. So if you hit that notification bell, you'll know when we have a new show that pops up that's maybe not on our normal schedule. If you like the audio version, listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, whichever one you choose. HHH Racing Podcast Power Picks Tip Sheet. Below the video player, you can see the link to Patreon. That's where you subscribe. Also, go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. All the details are there, examples. So for any of you who bought our Derby and Oaks package, we also have a weekly standard power picks that gives you picks every Saturday for multiple tracks, including the Santa Anita Late Pick 4. So take a look. Please subscribe. And as I mentioned, here's our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Tons of stuff on there, pictures, articles from my co-host who's coming on today. Tons of stuff. Check it out. But let's get out of that stuff. Let's bring on my co-host. Tonight with me, the last show of the week, finally, from the Saratoga Special, Massachusetts, a little bit of everything. Paul Halloran. What's up, my friend? How's it going?
Good, Pete. I'm remarkably still going. Howard is already in Louisville.
Is he there? He made it? Okay.
He's probably out sipping a drink with an umbrella in it as we speak.
That sounds pretty good to me, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree, Pete. I may pour myself one after the show, but we should. Speaking of the Derby, Pete, we're going to talk Santa Anita, but we do want to at least recognize the fact. Good news for the West Coast players. You got it, Pete? Yeah.
I have a note right there. I was going to say, let's take a quick 5, and why don't you update us on what happened today, in case for some reason somebody doesn't know.
Yeah, well, the West Coast folks lost one horse and picked up another.
Yeah, little flip-flop,
Rodriguez, in a shocking development, the same ownership group and same trainer decided not to run 2 speed horses against each other. Who could have ever?
Oh my
Who could
God!
have thunk it?
Boy,
you know what I want to know? Pete, I want to know whose job was it to step on Rodriguez's foot.
I mean, you're right. They need the little video camera for somebody went in there with a little ball peen hammer and just gave it a little chip. Everyone.
But I mean, there's a lot of steam for Baeza, including from some of our own people. So if you want Baeza, folks, you got him. He will be program number 21, and as of now, post position 20.
I know we did a ton of Derby shows, and we have to get to Santa Anita, but we didn't talk a ton about Baeza. Does this, and I think I asked you this before, but does this change? Will you be adding him? Where would you put him, sort of an ABC perspective? Would you put him on your grid now, or did you? Because I know I added him, I think, as a B in parentheses like we do on our picks. Where would you put him right now?
I got to take a look, Pete. I'm going to say probably C. I don't think I'm going to use him as a B.
Is it the post that scares you, or other things?
Well, it's it's the post, it's the distance, and look, I get it. He ran lights out with the horse who's going to be the favorite that a lot of people think are going to win easily. So, I understand why you would want to play him. He ran very well in that race. He was stretching out that race. by McKinsey. So, okay, again, the distance is a question, in fairness, is a question mark for all of them,
All
right?
of them. Yep.
Because none of them has won it. Pratt has technically a Derby win on his resume from a far outside post. That was very costly to me, that takedown. But um, I think if you like him, you're probably not all that bothered by the post because Owen Almighty has just got to go, right?
You would
And
think now,
presumably cut
especially.
off a lot of horses along the way, right? Um, but look, I was of the camp that there was no way Rodriguez was going to the lead, and there was no way he was going to really seriously challenge
Citizen Bull.
Citizen Bull for the lead. So in that regard, but now having said that, look, someone has got to go with Citizen Bull. Okay, we've seen this movie before, folks. Okay, a Baffert loose on the lead in the Derby that you think isn't going to make all 10 furlongs, and then
And he
you're
does.
ripping up your
Yep.
virtual and paper tickets. So
Yeah.
I do think there are plenty of others, including the horse right next to him. We're getting off track here, but including Neo Equos, who's right next to him. I think Lucas's horse, the Goes American Promise. We talked about the outside horse Goes, and again, this is one less forward horse speed for East Avenue to contend
Well,
with. So.
I know you and I disagree on where East Avenue is going to be, but because everybody all of a sudden can rate all these horses now, you hear so many of them like, oh, well, I rated them in a work. Okay, so you're going to rate them in a 20 horse field. I'll believe it when I see it, but I do think that it's an interesting. It stinks losing a horse. Rodriguez has some talent. I thought he was a potential winner. It stinks losing a horse, but at least the one that we're getting in is also a contender. Last question before we move on. Where do you think he'll fall in terms of the odds? I could see him, you think, fourth choice behind Sandman and Sovereignty?
Correct.
Well, obviously journalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. What about you?
I was thinking that. I mean, would it shock you, though, if he even jumped Sovereignty somehow? Because he's a buzz horse.
It would not, and I would be thankful.
Yeah, I know from a person who likes Sovereignty. I'm sure you probably like the odds. I mean, the last I saw, he was still lingering in double digits with not nearly enough money.
I didn't see that. Yeah, I mean, it's
it's way early, but it's still
a lot
funny.
of money, Pete. But it's a lot of money for any other day, right? They keep saying on FanDuel today, Mattress Mac will come in and make a bet that's more than the whole pool right now.
The whole pool right now, yeah, for sure.
But I'll tell you what, though, I think Sandman goes off lower than Sovereignty.
I do too. And I think he's half of them right now. And again, it's early, but I think he's got more. I think Sandman will get more of the novice money for sure. I think.
Look at that kid. It's got
17
million, I guess, across all his platforms. Someone said.
Yeah. So that's
I'll tell you what. This has been a good. This has been a good month for the game between the Netflix series and which at Santa Anita. Oh no, that was Del Mar, wasn't it? I was thinking the Breeders' Cup, but the Netflix series and this kid being in on this horse with his millions of followers. It's been a good month for this game.
It has, and let's keep it. Hopefully, we have a great weekend, and I expect we will. Let's get on to what we're here for today. Let's do a quick. We'll do a 2-second. Quick hello. Let's see who's in the chat. By the way, Katie, by the way, I told her she was a cheat because she was in way early today. So I was like, she cheats.
She said she does not. You can't talk about her like that. She's more reliable than the USPS.
Yeah, she's actually, that doesn't take much, but I don't know if that's much of a compliment. Yeah. Hello, James. Let's see who else. We got Jim Pillar's in there. Nice to take a Churchill handicapping break. Looking forward to this show. Beautiful. Juan Ramos, JJ did amazing today too.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think that's good. Oh, Alex Flores, is Kentucky Derby this weekend? Yeah, I don't even know. This is the sequence, Paul. Although this first race we're going to get to isn't exactly going to make the Derby card, but let's get into it. So we're going to be covering races 7 through 10, and I'll bring up on the stage here. Actually, I want to bring up our Equibase first. So we're going to start in race 7 with a post time of 4 o'clock Pacific time. which we don't usually say on this show, but we'll do it for the West Coast folks. We are going 6 furlongs. We got maiden claiming 12.5 California breds, and we have a full field to start us off here, Paul, of 14, not AEs. We're 14 in the main body. You don't see that often to kick it off.
That means, Pete, there's no one here who is scaring away anyone else. That's for sure.
They scared me and you, I think, from a handicapping standpoint. So we have no morning lines. They haven't come out yet. So let's just get to our picks and we'll see where we stand. By the way, I told Paul in email before, I said I had to look and make sure. Now, this one, we have the same horse on top, which I'll read off our numbers in a second. But I had to look and make sure I was handicapped the right sequence because I was like, man, our picks are so different for the most part. But so for race 7, I'm going with 110.8. Paul's going with 132. The number 1, Seeger Man, I assume is how we pronounce Seeger, I would imagine. What do you like about this one? You're going, obviously, you were so impressed with all the horses who ran already that you're going with the first-time starter. Is that giving away your secret
both
there?
of them. Yeah, that's exactly right,
true.
Peter.
That's true.
If I'm playing horizontal here, which I probably will, I usually play the late pick 4 since we handicap it every week. I think I'll just use the 2 first-timers and be done with it. Because I think there's a million different directions you could go. This horse, Seegerman, 2 of his siblings won on debut.
Yes.
The 3 horse, 1 of his siblings won on debut. Both trainers are very good. Hanson, 21%. Jeff Mullins, 31% with a 5.32 ROI.
That's pretty good, right? I'll take that.
I looked at the 2, Pete. I was going to put the 2 in there. Oh, I have them third, but because of the maiden special drop.
Yeah. There was a lot of those, though.
Yeah, but this, like that second race down in the 2, a horse that he was on the pace and then faded and maiden special. Those are typically the type of horses I do want to bet when they drop to claiming. So I guess maybe I would throw him in. I have a thing about races like this, Pete, is I always try to use at least one of the horses who ran.
Yeah.
Because, we know it's going to be a guessing game with the first timers. I mean, the board can help us because it's the first race of the sequence. But sometimes the board doesn't help you. You might be 3-1 morning line and 5-2. Okay, now what does that tell him?
Yeah, what does that tell him? Or you're saying, does the rest of the public or whoever's putting the money in, can they even decipher this puzzle any better than we can? That's the thing. Which again, there's not a standout. You're looking at a horse. The horse you just said in third went from a 63, and again, buyers aren't everything, went from a 63 to a 45 to a 38, lost by 3, 12, 15. So he's going the wrong way, but in the drop, you never know how that, and that's a maiden special all the way down to what we say maiden 12.5. So that's a pretty significant drop.
Yeah, well, and you can tell after the first 2 races, they don't go well, so you do something different. So last time something different was the turf. Well, that was a disaster.
Awful.
So this time something different is back to dirt, but dropping. And, this is a homebred for Tom Watterson and Tom and Cindy Watterson. So, and they only paid $5,000 to breed to Straight Fire. So, I don't really look. I just look at Mullins looking. Mullins likes to win races, as you could tell by his percentage, right?
Yeah.
He's not doing that well this meet, but it's early. But
look, he's 8 out of 10,
30%.
Though. But he's also 8 out of 10 in the money, so he's just not getting the wins. So at least it's worse when you're like, oh, he's a 10-0-0-2, and then you're like, oh man, this one's ice cold.
30% for the year win.
It's unbelievable. That's
fantastic. So I'll just stick to the inside. I'll play for those old viewers out there. I'll play a Lawrence Welk in this race, and a 1 and a 2 and a 3.
I'm not sure anyone who remembers Lawrence Welk is up this late at this point. But
well, you mean alive? You meant alive, Pete. Right?
Well, I was trying to be. Well, my father's still alive. I'm sure he remembers Lawrence Welk, but he's 80.
I was young. In fairness, I was young at the time, Pete. But I do remember. I watched with my grandparents. What are you going to do?
we've seen clips. I'll just make a couple comments because we both have the
Yeah.
one, and everybody, by the way, can read my half-ass notes on the screen here. And we did. You mentioned the 2 for 2 first-time starters on the dam side, which I liked. Brian Hansen, 2 for 34 first-time starters in maiden claimings, which isn't lovely, but he's been fine. He's been. I like Hansen. He seems to be fine. And then we're getting Lasix right off the bat. Not that matters on it. You don't know what that's going to do a first timer. A lot of these horses, the problem is the works aren't great either. So you can't really. A lot of times you look at the works and you say, oh, they're coming in sharp. I don't see a ton in the works. The other, let me think. I think the 3. Oh, Raylu, Mullins and Raylu, by the way, and that you could see that down here. Small sample size, but 46% wins, 69% in the money for that combo. So I know you love some Raylu. So I figured you'd appreciate that. So
Yeah, no, they are good together.
Yeah.
And Raylu's out there full time now, so that's a good guy to get connected to. Jim Palaz remembers Lawrence Welk. I knew I could depend on him.
Oh, there it is. Yes, there we go. Jim, we're all showing our age, Jim, unfortunately. Oh, look at this. 100 out of 20 this episode is. There's Katie trying to get back in our good graces. Well, she's
She
always
never
in your
left
good
mine.
graces. Yeah,
Never left mine.
No, we love Katie the most. I'll just hit a couple of mine real quick. I have the 10 whose name am I? Oh, yeah, this is one I was like, how am I going to pronounce this? El Ondedo, I assume. All right, that's what I'm going to take a shot at. This is one who's 0 for 7, which I think the one thing we don't like in the maiden races is the consistent losers who tend to lose for a decent amount of time. But this one has been dropping. And actually, the one thing I did like, this is State Bred Company. When this horse was in State Bred, made in 50, which is still a lot higher than this, was finishing pretty well. You see a couple thirds, a second there. Jorge Parabon 3 for 6 in those last 6 races with a claiming tag drop of 50% or more. In maiden claiming specifically, so when they're dropping from a 50% drop in maiden claiming, I thought the last work was really good. Which again, I was talking about that where some of these horses the works aren't great. This one 46 and 4, second out of 63. Adds blinkers, so maybe what I didn't know if that horse had. I never know this, Paul. If the horse had, unless you watch the work, if the horse had blinkers, and maybe that's why the work was so good, and now you're getting blinkers for the race. So I'm like, maybe we get some speed out of the 10 hole here. Any thoughts on that one, or?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. The horse was a lot more forward before the long layoff, right?
Yeah.
Last summer is more forward. So I would think the blinkers primarily are a function of that. That the 2 comeback races this year, he's been 5th out of 6 early and then 5th out of 10, and ran okay the first time. The last one was a real doozy. This is the type of race, though, Pete, and it is the first leg of the sequence. I think if someone takes appreciably more money than everyone else, that's the board talking, because you handicapped it, I handicapped it, we talked about it for 10 minutes now. It's hard to look at it and say, oh boy, that horse looks like a stick out.
Yeah, no.
So if someone, especially if one of the first timers would have taken an inordinate amount of money, I would really I'd really narrow in that case, but you're going to have to wait to find that out.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the last one I had on my ticket, I won't get into what's the buzz. Has run 9 times, hasn't done much, but did have his best race last out. The only thing that struck me as funny is Edwin Alvarez is 0 for 14 on the year, 0 for 3 in the money at Santa Anita, and the jockey Herrera is 0 for 21 and 4 for 107 on the year. So I'm looking at this going, this poor horse is 0 for 9, and his jockey and trainer aren't exactly raising his floor very much. But I just thought off that last race, and even you look at the figures at least, and some of the back figures, he maybe looks a little better on turf, but he looks like he could at least, cutting him back now, showed some speed last time. Maybe he can do that again. Yeah, Juan. Sounds like he's due to hit. We could lose a lot of money waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, although, Pete, I will say you're right, though. The 59, of course, now I circled the 59, Pete, the buyer.
Yeah.
And then I saw Turf Paradise, and, look at I know Indy Buyer's got a great team. I'm assuming it's the varsity is not working Turf
Turf
Paradise,
Paradise, yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't. That number could be totally legit, or it could be not close.
Yeah.
So
It's
my
always tough.
enthusiasm for the 59 waned when I saw that capital T, small U, capital P.
I mean, having enthusiasm for a 59 is a tough pill to
Yeah,
swallow
that's
to
a good
begin with
point.
anyway. All right, let's move on to the next one. We're going to move on to the 8th, which I actually thought was a really good race. Again, we're going to the 8th, claiming 32,000. We're going a mile on the turf. The rails are out 20 feet for 3-year-olds and up. And this time we have a field, another nice size field, though. This is, I mean, we don't have big, I don't think we're going to have big favorites in this sequence. And the 3 of the races have some pretty big fields. So I think this can pay. But we have a field of 11 here. And we're going to go, let's see, we're going to let you kick off since I'm hosting. I am going with 126. Actually, we're close on this one.
Yeah,
I'm
all
just
right.
an idiot, maybe. And you were going with 267. You were going with the 2, Fantastic. Let's bring him up on the screen. Why don't you tell me what you like about Fantastic coming off a second place by a half a length?
Well, how can you resist a 9-year-old who's not the oldest horse in the race, Pete?
Well, it's funny. I went with the 1 and the 2. I got the 10 and the 9 up top. I'm going old man school, as we like to say.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh boy.
Pete, it's almost like they wrote in the conditions, Pete. Like you get a weight break if you're over 8. I mean, this is unbelievable.
It's
There's
crazy.
the 9 horse is 7. So there's a 7, 2 8s, a 9, and a 10.
It's unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah, I thought, God love the old veteran Fantastic, though. Still running a 90 at age 9, Pete. That's pretty good.
I mean, his lifetime buyer is a 91 that he ran in 2023, and he almost hit that. I mean, you got to like to see that 111 time form. That's impressive for a 9-year-old.
Yeah, I agree. And he wins. The thing the thing that drew me to him now, he shows one win in like the last 7, but you go back to the end of 23, 3 in a row, 8 out of 33 lifetime. That's fine. Lemon Drop Kid Mare obviously is a turf horse all the way. Although ironically, his turf pedigree is not as good as on paper as his results.
Yeah.
I just think the horse wins. I think he won for 40, and then last time they protected him, right?
Yeah.
He was in an optional claimer for 32, and he ran a good second. And now they said, okay, if someone really wants to take this 9-year-old, you can have him for 32,000.
32, and he's made. I mean, he's made 356. So he's definitely what they spend.
Yeah. So tough race, full field, but. He's going to need some pace, but I also think it's odd, Pete, that he was way more forward his last 2 starts than he has been prior to that, and that might just be a result of the company. So the fact that he's going into this company, that was a positive for me.
And here's just real quick, I didn't show this in the last one. A lot of them, we had some first-time starters, and I didn't think the pace was as significant there, but here we're talking, we have a projected cold, slow pace here favoring the 8, who we don't have on the screen. Katie actually, Katie likes race 8. She likes 3, 2, 1. Sorry, but we do have a loose leader who we'll mention when we get to it. But yeah, you see the 3 sitting a nice spot, the 2 sitting a nice spot, the 1 sitting a nice spot. So we'll see. I'm going to go. We're both going. You don't have the 1. I'm going to hit the 6 real quick because we both have the 6. You have the 6 in second. That is, let me scroll. Ottoman Prince here. So Ottoman Prince was a funny one for me because that last one sort of came out of nowhere. And I guess depending upon what the morning line looks like, was this more of did this have sort of a wedding funeral kind of thing here? You catch him at 11 last time. Is he going to be half that this time? But there were some things that I liked that made me put him in the top 3 and actually sort of an A-line horse for me. What'd you like about this one?
Pete, the horse won, and he's keeping him at the same level. It's like he's trying to get him claimed, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But he beat this same level of company last time. I think D'Amato wants to win the race, and I think I think if he loses the horse, he loses the horse.
So be it.
So yeah, so be it. But I'll tell you what, Pete. One thing I did like about this horse, um, his buyer consistency is amazing. If you look
Yeah.
at the page, 7 races, all between 81 and 89. So he's going to show up. For you journalism fans, Rispoli is going to be the conquering hero coming home to ride this race.
Isn't it amazing though? He could win the Derby and then he has to come and they fly all the way halfway across the country or 3/4 and then have to ride these. That's what they do. That's why they're awesome athletes. Yeah, a couple things I liked. You mentioned Rispoli, 41%. I mean, you see he's 13 out of 17 in the money, 41% wins so far in the meet. D'Amato, 29%. And I like that Umberto's been on him for 2 straight. So you get the comeback off the layoff. It was a little sort of even, didn't do a ton. Comes back the next one, gets the win. Umberto stays up. Now we get third in the form cycle off the layoff. At first, I didn't like the horse. I thought maybe the last was the outlier. Then I was thinking maybe this horse just improved a little bit, just enough at 5 to where now he could start winning some of these races. So that's why I wound up putting him back in. And again, connection-wise, you can't go wrong. I'm going to go back up
to 1, Pete.
That's what I was just saying. I was going to go back up to the 1 here. And actually, it's almost a similar profile. You mentioned earlier, we got the 10-year-old here who came back with an 86, 83, has some 92s and 94s not too far in the past. I thought this horse is just tactical enough to where I think if you get, I wouldn't want the trip from 2 and 3 back. I think those were when he's a little too far back, it's too much for him. But when he can sit close, so if he breaks okay from the rail, nobody comes over on him, and I think he can just sit sort of a pocket trip, then I like him. And then the other thing, off year 2, JJ, these are 2 Peter Urton horses, the 1 and the 2. And JJ picked which one he wanted because he rode the 2 3 times in a row before this and has ridden the 1 2 times. So I thought maybe that too, I'll follow JJ. I think that's never a bad thing at Santa Anita. Even 2 back when he lost to Sydney Street, who's in this race, was favored against Sydney Street, was blocked. I watched that race, really had 0 room, had to pull up sort of steady. I don't need to show the replay, but it's worth watching. Had to steady. And then once he got loose, he kicked in late. So I'm thinking maybe I hate to say this, maybe he's just he's getting good again at 10 for the old guy. So let's see if he can do it one more time. Last horse, unless you have anything else. You have any thoughts on the 1? You didn't have anything against the 1?
No, I do think, though, Pete, the winner of this race should be guaranteed a spot at Old Friends.
That's great. That should be the condition. That's even more important than the purse money, I think, in this one. Last one, we got the 7. We didn't talk the 7, right? Oh, Com C. Was this a win contender for you, or just
I think I wanted someone who's going to be forward, and I think your 1 is actually, but this horse is cutting back in distance and has been forward at longer distances. Almost all his races, you see his mile races, he's 0 for 6, but he's 3 for 6 on the board. I just think he's going to be forward, and I don't know how much speed there is. I know you showed the time for him, right?
Yeah, it was the 8 who we didn't really look at, but it's funny. The 8 from a time form standpoint, the 8 McKinnon from a time form standpoint had a clear loose lead, but when you look, this horse hasn't been close to the lead in a while. So
I don't see how the 8's ahead of the 7.
I know, and that's why I was like, I could see. I don't know what this horse is going to do. They put the blinkers on. Maybe the plan is to get back to where I think the horse used to be a little more forward, but lately hasn't been. And who knows? Maybe you just start losing the break ability. Those were sprinting route. I don't know. I couldn't figure this horse out. But I agree. The 7, the thing I didn't like about your 7, and this is the last thing I'll mention before we move on, I didn't love that even at the claim and then after the claim, were just, from a figure standpoint, there was a precipitous drop and from a result standpoint, it wasn't good. Now it's a big drop. It's a drop into this field a bit, but I don't know. Something spooked me there, and that's what threw me off a bit. Because usually with the drop, I mean, this horse was in a grade 3, 4 back. It was on the dirt, but still, not that he necessarily should have been in a grade 3 on the dirt. Not really sure what was going on there, but oh well. But yeah, I think the 1-2. I like the 1-2. You and the 6. You like the 2-6. So I think at least we're a little bit in lockstep there. Let's move on to the next one. We will move to the 9th race. Let me get that banner off the screen so we don't get distracted. 9th race. This one's good. I don't know what you thought about this one. Small field, but I thought this was really competitive. We're going to go allowance optional claiming 86.5 furlongs, 3-year-olds and up with a crap load of conditions. 7-horse field, but I think it's a very competitive 7-horse field. So let's bring this up and we'll look at C. This is one where we had quite a bit of difference. I'm going with 2-1-7. Paul's going with 5-1-3. Paul, why don't you tell me what you like about the 5 of Vlahos, who's a name. It's a name that is very familiar, and I think the results in my mind are better than the results you see on the screen for some reason. But tell us why you like this one.
I mean, they're going to run the Pate Mile on Saturday, right, at Churchill. If this horse were ever to find a way to duplicate his Pate Mile from last year, he wins this race for fun. I think we could agree. I just always kind of like this horse. I think the mile is okay. I think he's got good speed. O'Neill is not going to be winless forever at Santa Anita. He's actually having a tough year. He's only 9% this year.
Well, this is another one. O'Neill 0 for 19 and Maldonado 0 for 11 so far at the meet. So they're not helping the horses out at this point, or their horses maybe aren't helping them out too.
So I don't know what to do with the Chilean horse, Pete, on the outside. That's a wild card, but I think I think the 5 is going to be on the lead or right on the pace, and see if he's good enough.
It's funny they took the blinkers off. I wasn't sure how to take that. Are they going to try and sit off a little bit with this one?
I think so. On the cutback, Pete, I think so. Although, it's only cutting back a half a furlong. But
so here's the pace real quick. It has the 5 still. It has the Vlahos still on the lead, even with the blinkers off. But it's a short field, so I don't think you hope you're not going to get too bad of a trip. I just don't think they want to let a horse like this get too loose, because if that back class comes back, then he's going to be hard.
Yeah, and admittedly, Pete, O'Neill is kind of looks like he might be at his wit's end, right? He came off the layoff. They tried to run him on turf in a stakes race, and it was taken off, and he won. And interestingly, after he won that race on dirt, Doug said, "No, we want to try turf," and he actually ran respectably in that turf race.
Yeah,
and now back to a dirt stakes, a grade 3. So it looks like Doug is trying to figure out this horse again. Remember, he had the confidence to put him in a grade 2 race. Doug got him after that first race. That must have been a private purchase.
Yeah.
They had the confidence to put him in a grade 2, a second start.
I mean, that was a monster, 98 right off the, 98 debut. Usually that's where you get the buzz from. And then, the couple things I'm probably underestimating this horse. I think you might be closer to right. And for some reason I was thinking where you were, where they're trying to figure the horse out. So maybe the horse just isn't going to perform, but the horses I talk about, who we'll get to next, mine are probably even more puzzling. Let's go up to the 1. I have the 1 in second. We'll hit my 2 after the 1, because they have sort of, the 2 has an odd profile, I'll just say, but the 1 hasn't run since May. Judge Miller, you have him in second. I have him in second. 2 straight losses in the last 2 times he ran, in April and May of last year. A second in the Californian to Mr. Fisk, and then a third to Mr. Fisk in the Gold Cup. I don't know. This horse on talent and class and figures seems to be, if he can come back sharp, he seems like he'll be right in the mix and will probably be the best horse in this race. I guess the question is, do you think he's going to come back sharp? You have him in second. What do you think off that long of a layoff?
I think this probably screams prep. This is a way to get started. They ran him long in grade 2 and grade 3. He may not be going back to a mile and a quarter, but you'd have to think that running him long is in the plans again. And,
Yeah.
This is just a spot to begin. But, with this position and a relatively short field and the fact that the horse is forward, I think he's a real good board horse. That's
Yeah.
how I looked at him.
Yeah, I guess my thing was, well, you get the cut back, which I know normally you would like to cut back, but you don't generally like it off a year plus layoff necessarily. I don't think it has the same effect. The one thing I did like, which again people could see my notes if they want, those first 3 races were with Lasix. Then he went into the graded stakes and lost it. But when he was on Lasix, you just look at that. I mean, look from a buyer and a time form standpoint. He went from 92, 94, 105, and then from a time form standpoint, he 107, 120, 126. I mean, that's big time, man. So I look at that and go, if he can just recapture that, now we're getting Lasix back. There was nothing in the works that showed like, oh, this horse is beating the barn down, ready to go. But I just thought on past talent, he looks like maybe the best choice to me. I went with the 2, which was, I don't know. I probably should have went with the 1. I went with the 2. Hasn't run since November of 2023. Was that the reason why you had no interest in this horse, or did you?
Yeah,
Was there
it
something
didn't
else?
work out that well for Speedboat Beach today.
I heard. You know what? I was out and didn't see that race. I got a text from my friend and cousin saying Speedboat Beach was no. Fort Bragg won the race though, right? From what I
Yeah,
understand.
Speedboat Beach bled and
Yeah.
finished last.
They said he got vanned off, but it was bleeding only. I mean,
I
I say only, but
fortunately had a very, very nice pick 3 ending with Fort Bragg.
oh, beautiful. Congrats. I love it. That's lovely.
Paid a healthy 36 to 1.
Get out of here. You had it probably 150 times. I know how you play. So you're
but
you're ready.
I had it more than I normally would have it for.
Oh, you did?
Because I played. You know what the ticket was, Pete? Single by 2.
Oh, nice. Wow, that's beautiful. I'm happy to hear that.
But
Get that
I
bankroll going.
didn't love the layoff for this horse. Look, you talked about back numbers with the 1. Obviously, the back numbers on this horse are really solid, all mid-90s. Glatt has pretty good percentage.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this horse will take some money. We don't have morning lines. I don't know what you think, but I think he'll be in the top 3 choices, won't he?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think the 1 maybe just on class and figures would probably be. I could see the 1 getting bet down, and I see Vlahos again from form, and not from form as much as class. The one thing I liked about this too, which is why I wound up putting him on top. It's off such a long layoff, but the thing that I liked was if you look down here at the works, you see 3 back, you had a 59 and 2, second out of 88. Then you had a 59 and 1. Then you had what I assume hopefully was sort of just a maintenance work where maybe they just feel like, hey, this horse is, they tighten the horse up and Glad has him really ready to run. And if so, again, you just don't know. But if so, and at least the works make it look like he might be ready. But I don't know. I'm taking a shot there. Again, I was trying to. I think the line. I think I'd like to see the line here before. Obviously, we will before I decide how to structure a ticket in any way. But anybody else you want to talk about here? You have the 3 ultimate gamble. I think.
Yeah, the other Glatt. That's all.
Well, Glad has 3 in here, so Glad a 7-horse, 7-horse field. Glad has 3.
Here's the 1, 2, and 3, huh?
Yeah. So he's a weird horse because 2 back, you get that race, but that was sort of a speed favoring track. Jumped on the lead, rolled. There's other speed in here. I don't think he's even close to the. I don't think he's the best speed, so I just don't know if he's going to get that trip again, but. He's come from off, when he broke his maiden from sitting off a bit. But his wins, his best races are when he's super low odds, when he's probably the best horse in the race, and I just don't think he is here. That was my 1.75 million, though, Paul. This one.
Yeah, and he's already earned back 98,000 of them, and he's well on his way.
He's well on his way at 5. Yeah,
You got it certainly looks like Fresu picked the one, right? You would think Fresu
that's
had
what I
the
thought.
option.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
I like the one more than this horse. This was someone to make the board.
someone to
That's
make
it.
the board. Okay, sounds good. All right, well, let's see how we're going to get paid here. Let's move on
Oh,
to the last leg. Oh, you didn't like this one as well? I thought this was
I thought it was a tough race. I liked the race. I just thought it was tough.
it was tough. So we're going to the 10th. Allowance optional claiming 20. Now we're 6 furlongs on the turf, Calbreds, and we have another juicy field of 13 going to post. And Paul, we're going to start it off with you. This one, again, on the top line, we do not have the other's top horse on the board. I am going with 7-10-4. Paul is going with 2-10-1. And let's start. Hey, quick omen. I don't know. The omen is not a good thing if you watch the movie and you were talking about the Pope last night. Omen here. If you're a horror fan, let's go. What do you like about the number 2? Quick omen here.
I would say I'd have to really be spread out in this race.
Yes.
I think.
Although it's funny, this is actually my strongest opinion. So when we'll get to mine, we'll talk
good.
about it.
I'm going to write that down. Then that means you like the 7 a lot. So I'm going to write down Pete. It's a turf race, Pete, where the majority of the horses have run more on dirt than turf.
Yes.
Or at least as much, right? And this horse is going to be a price. Debbie Winnick, whoever Debbie is, God love her, 1 for 4 at this calendar year. Tyler is struggling, but I just thought that pedigree wise, I thought this guy, a gal, pardon me, on turf, was about as solid as anyone.
Yeah,
and I know you're not. It's not like they're all first-time starters, pedigree, but there's some weak turf pedigree in this. And then you look at the results. The 1 is 0 for 6. The 3 hasn't run on it. The 4 is 1 for 9 on it. The 5 is 0 for 3. The 6 is 0 for 9. The 7 is 0 for 2. The 8 has not run on it. The 9 has not run on it. Is a quarter horse almost. The 10, who I picked second, I think, has got 1 win. So my point is, I don't want to belabor it, but there's a lot of unproven turf form here. And even though this horse's numbers are certainly not great with low 60s, I just think that she's going to be a price, and you got to pick someone to win.
I love when you end it with that. That's such a strong recommendation. You got to pick someone to win. Well, let me go to mine real quick. We'll go to my 7 because this was actually, and again, we're not exactly picking from the cream of the crop, but the 2 things I like. So Blevy's Tiger, I imagine that's how it pronounced for Manuel Badia. So 2 back, we finished the year at Del Mar going a mile, 2 back, and just ran terrible, but came back. So what I liked was they put the horse on the turf, broke terrible out of the gate, was going a mile, and you see from the running line here, just never got into it. So that's awful. They come back off the layoff. They say, okay, we're going to keep the horse on the turf. We're going to cut back. We're going to go down the hill. And this horse runs a lifetime buyer top, co-lifetime time form top. Now we're dropping down a bit. And I think what happened was, and I'm going to slide to the left here a second. We talk about this a lot because we've been doing these Sunday shows, and a lot of the Sunday shows have the Northern California horses that come down. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things we've noticed, because we've been doing this for 18 episodes now, one of the things we've noticed is sometimes they shoot wrong. They shoot a little too high. So they bring them over. They think they have this quality of a horse. They put them in a race, and they lose pretty badly. My hope is that's what happened here. Maybe they shot a little too high. Now they're lowering the horse a little bit. Now we're dropping down again. And I think, are we now just figuring out, hey, this is where this horse fits? So if we get that last race and we're at the company that this horse belongs in, then I think just him on form and figures from the last race, I think he's the best horse potentially in the field. So that's the way I was looking at it. And that's more just from doing a lot of these Northern California to Southern California races at this point. What are your thoughts on that, just from a
Yeah,
conceptual
no.
standpoint or anything?
I think it's a great point, and that 81 last time, in all fairness, wins this race by
Yeah,
open legs.
let me see what he. I think it was backed up. Yeah, it was a 101 from a time, or it was a 99 from a time form.
Yeah.
So a little bit off, but it was still not much. And I think that. Oops, sorry about that. That race, I think wins it for me. So
Oh, big time, big time.
the 10 Blue Wildcat that ran third, actually, second and third. So behind my horse last time out, another one with Rispoli. What'd you like about this one? This one, the last three on the turf, they put this horse on the turf again, and now has been sort of, getting in the mix, a second and two thirds. What'd you like about this one?
Just the consistency of this horse.
Yeah.
Uh, the breeding doesn't really scream turf. Papa Clem on the dam side. But as you said, those are all pretty good efforts. Rispoli stays. Um, low percentage trainer for whatever that's worth. But, we talked about that 81, Pete, if we're looking at figures. And I think in a race like this, I tend to really lean on figures, even though I picked the two races in the 60s. That was more of a pedigree play. But, my point is this horse is, if we think the 81 potentially could tower over the field, well, this horse has got 74, 72, 73 last three races
Yeah.
on the buyer side. So
And from
I
a
just
from
thought
a
this
time
horse is
form
pretty
is right in the
consistent.
mix. Oh, sorry. I was
Right
just gonna
there,
say,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
from a time form is actually right there, even a little bit better than from a buyer standpoint. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that
Um,
triple digit time form would look pretty formidable here,
that
wouldn't
would be nice. I mean, yeah, I think that's the kind of race we're looking at, where you can get the post. I think the two horses inside, the two quarter horses inside of this one will probably go. So maybe this one is able to work his way over. He's definitely going to be coming from the back, I think. But yeah, I liked him just because he's just been good in 2025. I did have a note. He hasn't won a race since 2023, so it's hard to rely on a horse that hasn't won in a while. But and if you look at 24 and 25, no wins, but 4 seconds, two thirds. So it's right there. Just can't seem to close the deal, and that's you get nervous about a horse like that, especially maybe as they get a little bit older. Did we hit anybody you want to talk about? The one. You have the one in third, and I actually like the one. So let's hit the one real quick. You have this one in third. Is this sort of an A horse with him, or is this a notch down?
Well, I think I like Andy Mathis, and this is the second time he is a second off the claim for
Yep.
Andy, which he has good numbers at.
Yeah, I actually have this on the screen there. 4 for 8 wins, 5 for 8 in the money. Second after the claim in the past year and a half. So he's been
So there
good
you
off
go.
of that
Yeah.
move. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of my thinking there. Is second time Andy Mathis off that claim. Blinkers are coming off, which he doesn't do often, but you know we'll see about that. Don't mind the post going 6 inside. I don't think that's really an issue. So yeah,
No.
I just thought again the horse is pretty consistent. 13 out of 22 lifetime on the board.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think there was some stuff to like there, and again, I kind of this is the one I was waffling between this and the four. The four who's actually cross-entered on Friday, J&M Express. I wound up going with the four more because I like the it's funny. I like the move to Pipey off the trainer switch here, because I like that. Hey, this horse was maybe getting a little good in the last two. Now we go to Pipey, which I kind of like, and this horse just put this horse back on the turf. The horse is 8 out of 9. Only won one of them. That's the problem. But it's 8 out of 9 on the turf, which I sort of like. Although Pipey 4 for 54 route to sprint on turf, which I did not love. But we're getting a little bit of a cutback here. I think I like when a horse just does something. Something changes and then their form just improves. And they put this one back on the turf. This is one where you're like, this horse is really good on the turf. Why the hell are we messing around with the dirt? I'm sure it has something to do with timing and availability of races, maybe. But let's get this horse back on the turf doing what they do. I think this one has a chance to move forward. let's just see if the win end he can get on the win end, because that's where he's maybe struggled a little bit. Anyone else you want to hit here, or but you
Nope.
said it, you spread race for you for the most part.
I think so. Yes. Yep.
Let me real quick before we get to our best bets. I'm going to do, because we both on this show, we talk about how we like a lot of the other bets, a lot of the specialty bets, and a lot of the high denomination bets that Santa Anita's come up with. So let's talk about their pick 3 and their daily double through a nice little video.
Now offered at the Great Race Place. $3 late pick 3 featuring the last 3 races. $5 late double on the last 2 races. Both with a player-friendly 15% takeout. Every race day at Santa Anita Park.
Boom. A little Dettori on the end there. Let's get to our best bets real quick. Paul, you only went with 1 this time. You are going, Paul's best bet, apologies, is in the 7th. You are going with a 2x2 daily double, the 1 and the 3, and the 2 and the 6. And that is, let me look at the screen here, unless you will have the names handy. I would like to.
Fantastic and Ottoman Prince in the second leg.
In the second, and then Seegerman and
the 2
Roxalot.
first timers. I told you, I'll cast my lot with the 2 first timers. So I said, you know what? I'm going to just construct a double with the 2 first timers.
The 2 first. There's nothing wrong with that. I like that. And I will go. Let's jump to mine real quick. I have 2. I'm going in the 8th. Because I like playing I like the $3 pick 3, like the video just said, and I like that last double. I'm going to go with 1, 2, 6, 9 in the 8th. I thought that was the race with, fantastic Ottoman Prince, Kason, who we didn't really talk about. A little bit deeper there. Then I'm going to go with the 1, 2, Judge Miller and Traeger. So I'm going to go with the 2 off the long layoff horses. And then I'm going to single that 7, because I'm with you, where I think I like the 7 enough to where if I included other horses, I was probably going to include like 3 or 4 of them. Right. So I'm like, screw it. Let's just go. And then again, I'm going to go on the win end in the 10th. I'm going to go with that 7. Again, the one thing I hate about, not I hate, but one thing that makes it a little difficult with our best bets is without the morning lines, maybe you would just structure our tickets a little bit differently. If we saw that, hey, I got the top 4 chalks here or something, maybe I'd want to go skinny or something like that. But I do really like that 7. So let's see if we can do something there. That's about it for today. I'm going to give you, it's our last show before the Oaks and the Derby, obviously. Why don't you give us a little final thoughts or anything Derby related, Oaks related, anything you want for the weekend?
Yeah, well, I think obviously the eyes of the world, not just the racing world, will be on Churchill Downs on Saturday. It's Friday, tomorrow. Is it Thursday, Pete? I'm not even sure.
It is Thursday today. Yes, it is Thursday. Yes.
Yeah, so again, we do this year round, and we love it, and we have no problem sharing our world with everyone else on Saturday. Really, Pete, that if you cut through all the bullshit, let's hope every horse comes back sound.
That's
and,
it.
I had a little bit of a panic today. My guy Junior got tossed. I don't know if you saw.
Oh,
that
he did.
race.
No, I did not see that.
He got tossed right out of the gate today.
Oh, man.
And fortunately, it was just kind of a matter. The horse kind of reared or stumbled, whatever. Junior was up right away. In fact, Travis Stone, God love him, announced that right away.
Yeah.
But considering he's coming off a 3.5 week, fractured clavicle, so, and I would prefer
Did you get
to
a
see him
report?
healthy.
Or did you text them, or did you get a report or anything?
No, they had it on FanDuel. He was fine. He walked off the track and was ready for the next race. Yeah. So awesome. And as importantly, the horse did as well. So let's just hope that everyone has safe trips. We don't really know what the track condition's going to be. I was just doing a group thing with some good friends of mine before I got on with you, and we hate to talk to in honor of Howard. We'll end with weather. It's gone from no problem on Saturday to maybe some rain to I heard today a half inch, and then my friend Doc Mora told me at one point today the forecast for Saturday was up to an inch.
Oh no!
But now it's back down. I have heard that it's going to stop by noon. So if that's the case, you'll have at least a good track by the Derby. That track is dries out really, really well. So,
Yeah.
but we got good turf races, and we just got to get lucky with that. But let's hope everyone comes back healthy, and remember it's a marathon, folks, not a sprint. There's a lot of races over the 2 days. I think there are 25, 26 feet, maybe,
Yeah.
over the 2 days.
It is. Yes. I think I'm looking at it now. We got 13 tomorrow and
No, the
14,
27.
27 total. Yeah.
But save some money for the Great Race Place on Sunday.
This is where you make the money. You can either use this as a get out. That's what we always say. It's either the get out pick 4, or this is the, hey, I just won about 200 grand on the Derby. Let me bang this pick 4, or
There you go.
Paul's double for about Paul coming off that hot pick 3 hit today. You're on an ascent. That's what we're hoping for, right?
That's the plan, Pete.
Hey, this is why we don't like to talk weather. I like this. Marco, Lou.
I like
no matter
Marco.
how far technology has come, weather forecasting is a bit of a 50-50
It is.
toss up. I love that.
Especially in Kentucky. It's Kentucky's a lot like Massachusetts when it comes to that. The old saying, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes.
That's very true. I'll hit one more comment real quick for Katie. What horses are on your wall, Pete? Yeah, they're right behind me. The big one is Easy Goer. One of them on the top is American Pharaoh. One's Zenyatta. I got a Gio Ponte on there because of the awesome quote. I'd have to read the quote, Paul, but I don't know if you know the quote where they said something like he lost to Goldakova one year and then he lost to Zenyatta the next. And the quote was something like, I forget, the quote was like, basically, all we do is lose to the best horses, the best fillies and mares in the world. So, and then underneath there's California Chrome, Big Brown, and See the Stars. So there you go, Katie. I think that's about it. Last thing I'll mention administratively on the bottom, subscribe, comment, like, rate, review, hit the notification bell, do all that stuff you're supposed to do. But more importantly, Oaks and Derby weekend is coming up. And like we like to say on here, we got the thumbs up bubble. That's a good sign. Crush your bets, everyone, whether it's tomorrow for the Oaks, Saturday for the Derby, or Sunday for the late pick 4 at Santa Anita. Take care, everybody. Thank you, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Pete.
See you, Paul.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.